Don't mind me. I'm enjoying some deer jerky before we get started. So, as usual, give it a couple minutes for everyone to um, log in and all that kind of stuff. Jim Combs, greeting from the People's Repugnant of Illinois. You're just right next door to me. I'm in Missouri, where it's like, what is it, 12 degrees outside or something? But hello. It is going well for me. A little cold outside. I got a lot of stuff I'd like to get done. And I could do it, but I'm a wuss and I don't want to when it's this cold outside, so I'm not going to. But I hope you are doing well. Hope everyone's doing well. I mean, we survived the first month of Trump. I know the mainstream media made it sound like it was going to be the end of the world as we know it. And I know that they are still trying to make it seem like it's going to be the end of the world as we know it. But, you know, I was ready for spring to start when fall started. So, see, I'm always ready for fall to start because that's when I can climb up into a tree and start hunting stuff. Bigger stuff, right? I can hunt coyotes and stuff all I want, but the deer is what I look forward to. And all is well. Good. I'm glad to hear that all is well. We have, like I said, we've all survived. First month of Trump. Excited for Cash to take over the FBI side. I think that's going to be a welcome change. Hopefully that gets our law enforcement back under control when it comes to that side, right? Howdy from the swamps of Florida. I could go for some. Actually, you know what? We were just in Florida not too long ago. We were in at Disney World. We got to spend 5 days out there at Disney World. What was that? Not last week, the week before. We were there for that, and it was hot. Dare to say, I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt and still sweating profusely. So, but a lot of fun. Got to ride all the fun rides. You know, our little one, she loves it. She rode, I think, we did Space Mountain 7 times. She did Guardians of the Galaxy 4 times, I think. We did the Yeti twice. We did, we did them all, right? So had a good time. So it was, what was it? So, you know, got to watch to track all the steps and stuff. I think it was like 8 to 9 miles a day was what we walked. Which I'm glad, like, I started working out and running and all that kind of stuff to, you know, get ready for hunting season and whatnot. So I was thankful to be in some kind of shape because I couldn't imagine of doing the winter hibernation and then going and having to walk 9 miles a day and being, you know, being okay with it. You should definitely check on your friends when that's the case. But All right, Pergio, hey brother, good to see you again. Thank you for joining. Oh yes, I was running the AC for 2 weeks. Yeah, I mean it was warm. It was a welcome change. So, and Jim is ready for pool weather. It's pool weather now. You just got to be okay with doing cold plunges, which I actually, believe it or not, I do partake of cold plunges. Um, yes, so I do. Actually, well, let me change it. I don't always do the cold plunge. I actually normally just do a cold shower, and that's not because I need to take a cold shower. If we all know what I'm talking about, but um, no, because like having a cold plunge, like having it constantly filled and either constantly putting ice in, or like I just feel like that sucks up a lot of energy for something that you only use for maybe 4 to 5 minutes, and filling the bathtub up the entire, like, it just kind of seems like a waste to me. So I'll just turn the shower on cold and jump in, and then take a shower for 3-4 minutes with it on, just the cold water on. Which I'll tell you right now. Right now, uh, it's I've been adding a little bit of hot water because when it's regular cold water, it's about 45 to 50 degrees, which is around what it should be or so. I remember it was like 50 to 55 degrees or whatever, but like lately it's been like 40 degrees and just unbearably cold. So I haven't been doing the cold weather, but bought that 10 millimeter I've been wanting. Lynn took care of me well. Good, good. Glad to hear. I may look like a polar bear, but not a cold fan. Or it's too cold for Eskimos. Well, not during the wintertime. I have been up to New York. Believe it or not, I used to be in a rock band straight out of high school, and we went on tour. So we got to go all the way up to Buffalo and even Seattle and all that kind of stuff. So I've been places, just not when it sucks the most. But all right, well, let's get going, huh? Shall we? So, again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Armscor U Live with me, John McClain, and for this one, we are going to be talking about firearms that can get youth or brand new shooters excited about shooting firearms and learning about safety and learning about becoming a responsible gun owner. Uh, because it seems like nowadays that's even more of a necessity. I'm also a very firm believer that the sooner you can introduce kids to the world of firearms, and the sooner you can get rid of that cool factor. And what I mean by that is, when your parents say something is bad or dangerous or taboo, or that automatically perks their interest in it because it's exciting, it's cool. And for my kids, whenever I've introduced them to the world of firearms and I've explained to them what they are for and how to use them, and I also inform them that if they ever want to see one or shoot one, all they have to do is ask, and I will drop what I'm doing, and we will load everything up, go to the range, and they can shoot until they're blue in the face. You get rid of that cool, let me get sneaky with it factor, and it just becomes something where they're just like, it'd be the same as them asking for a glass of water. Can I get a drink of water? Yeah, absolutely. Can I go shoot the guns? Yep, let's go. Like, there's nothing about it. It's not like a super special treat. It's just something else that we can do as a family. And when you can get them at a young age, the likelihood, I think, of them um, developing with a certain sense of responsibility I think is greater too, because right off the bat, obviously not we're not talking about too young here, right? But right off the bat, when you have a kid that understands the concept of firearm safety, keeping the muzzle point in the safe range, safe direction, keeping your finger off the trigger because of consequences to our actions and stuff like that's a skill that also translates over into other everyday life things, right? So I think getting our kids involved in the shooting sports as soon as possible, without it being a pressure situation, I think is very important. I also think that, a lot of kids, and this is why you're recently, having just moved to Missouri 5 years ago, and getting into hunting and understanding the importance of appreciating where your food's coming from, the work that it takes to get food from the field to your fork and stuff. It's let's not make that a lost art by any means necessary, right? So I still haven't been able to find the RIA 5.0E local. Okay, so if you want to get a 5.0E, if you've got the contact for your FFL, have them, whichever FFL you want to deal with, have them email me, okay? And we'll get a gun. We'll get them set up and get a gun out to them so that you can buy one. Whether or not it means that you have to put a down payment or whatever, that's between you and your FFL as far as how you want to handle it. But we can get you a gun, no problem. So, all right, well, let's get started with the first gun we're going to talk about. Now, this is part of our XT series. It's the XT22. Now, it says standard combo. This is actually kind of a pretty cool little firearm due to the fact that it will come with the ability to swap the uppers for a 45 ACP, or in this configuration, it's set up for 22 long rifle. Okay. The magazine is a 10-round capacity magazine. It's a full-size 1911 steel frame. So the steel frame means, yes, the gun's going to be heavy, but it also means that, when you're shooting that 22 long rifle, there's going to be no recoil. And then you can swap it out to 45 ACP if you ever choose to say, okay, well, maybe for the kid, you want them to shoot the 22 long rifle, but other times you want it to just be 45 ACP. Then you swap out the uppers. Okay. So pretty cool little system there. Obviously, 22 long rifle, just fantastic caliber to get people started. It's low recoil. It's not super noisy. And because it's low recoil, a lot of people can shoot very well with it right off the bat because they don't learn to anticipate the recoil of the gun or anything like that. So that's a cool little gun to get started off with. If you want something that maybe has a little bit more oomph to it, so like maybe your kid is beyond the phase of needing help holding the gun up, like they can handle the gun, and now we want to step up in the ability to is there a 22 upper available to convert my government full size? I'd have to double check. I don't know. Let me check real quick. I'm about to have a visitor. Maybe not. Are you going to be nice? See, so that's TCM. Those are all TCM. Okay, so I don't see a conversion kit for 22 long rifle that's sold as a separate piece. So I'm going to say no for now, but good point. Might be something we want to look into. So, All right, so moving on. Like I said, if you want something that has a little bit more oomph, but maybe they are not ready for the full center fire type calibers, so 380, 9mm, or anything like that, then these next two firearms would be fantastic options because they are the XT22 Magnum Target and the Pro Match. So, 22 Magnum rimfire, almost like twice as much powder, is going to be louder. There is going to be a little bit more recoil, but not so much, like nothing compared to, like, not as much as like a 380. Okay, so still going to be very manageable. The only thing about the XT22 Magnum pistols to note is that the front to back length of the grip is a little bit on the longer side just because the bullet is so long. Okay, magazines are 14 rounds, proprietary mags that we make. But man, these guns are a lot of fun to shoot. I really have a good time shooting these, like SHOT Show and stuff when we do media day. If this is on the table, I'll pick it up a lot throughout the day. The XT22 Magnum Pro Match. So this would be super ideal due to the fact that it's got that rail, so you can just start off with the red dot. And I think that when you're teaching a kid how to shoot, the concept of front sight, rear sight, line it up, put an equal amount of space on, but like you don't want a kid to be so overwhelmed with what they're trying to accomplish that they start missing steps, right? Or overthinking it. And we all do it as adults, especially when we're aiming, right? Try to make everything perfect. And then once it's perfect, we scream now and we flinch. By putting a red dot on the pistol, it makes it so much easier to just have the kid focus on pulling the trigger. Is your stance good? Yes. Do you have a good grip? Yes. Is the dot on the target? Yes. Pull the trigger. So something like this is a fantastic option. Due to the fact that you can add that red dot optic and immediately right off the bat help eliminate some of the thinking or the overthinking that a kid can have when they're shooting a pistol. And they're trying to line up the sights and remember about the grip and remember about their stance and all that kind of stuff. So something to take in consideration when we're getting kids into the guns. Other than that, we have the AL22 and then the AL22M. So pretty much the same pistol. The difference is that this one, the AL22 is for 22 long rifle. The AL22M is again for 22 Magnum rimfire. But nice heavy gun, so it helps minimize recoil, felt recoil impulse, and there's pretty much no muzzle flip. It's also, I like these pistols due to the fact that, I think it's important when we're talking about firearm safety with children. I think it's also important for them to understand how a revolver functions because there's tons of them out in the world. So, if you only teach them about semi-autos and they've never seen a revolver, then when they see a revolver, they might get curious. They might get a little experimental. And I think it's much better for them to have the knowledge across the board of how firearms generally work. And most revolvers pretty much function around the same way. Okay, so these two revolvers, another fantastic options to get kids involved. The other thing I like about the revolvers is when you put them into single action, a lot of the times the triggers are almost as light and as crisp as a really good 1911 trigger. So, F you, I'm late. That's okay. I'm only like 4 slides in, so you're good. We were just talking about how to get the youth involved in the firearms world and why it's so important to get them involved. And moving on, we're going to talk about we talked about these in one of the earlier episodes, so I'm not going to hit too hard on these, but the TM22 line of firearms. So I think the Feather is a fantastic a firearm rifle for like a Christmas gift or a birthday gift, right? Obviously, they're going to be a little bit older. You want them to be able to hold the rifle up with something like the Feather. because you don't have the ability for a rail to attach like an Arca rail or anything like that. They've got like the bog grips where you can put it on a tripod for someone, but typically at this point you kind of want to start encouraging um, the necessary muscles and structure and how to build a position, as we call it, to stand up and hold the rifle properly and mount it and fire it, right? So this is a great option because of the fact that it's the feather. It's very, very lightweight. Majority of it is polymer, minus the parts that need to be metal, so the bolt, barrels, all that kind of stuff. But great option. You get the ability to have 10 round magazines out of the box, but there's 15 and 25 round mags, very light trigger pull. The other thing I like about that trigger pull as well, for those of you that haven't shot a TM22, it's not like your typical trigger where it pivots or it hinges and then it hits a very, very sturdy wall and then it breaks. It's kind of got what I call like a rolling trigger. So you get to a point where you start to feel a little bit more resistance. And then as you continue through that, the shot breaks. It's almost like throwing a punch underwater in a way, right? Like you feel a little bit like there's no resistance, and then you feel more resistance, and then eventually the shot breaks. So 22 TCM, no, this is just for 22 long rifle. I think we've discussed the idea of doing it in 22 TCM. But I'm not sure where they're at as far as development for that goes. So anyway, so the other reason for the feather that I think is a huge, great selling point, that adjustable stock here. Because we didn't go for the totally metal like the original design, and we were okay with polymer being on it, it comes with an adjustable stock that has adjustable length of pull as well as a cheek weld. So you can adjust the comb for your cheek weld, right? So depending on what kind of optic you're running, or maybe even the kid's face or structure or build or anything like that, you're able to really, really kind of adjust this rifle for that particular shooter. And then, of course, the cost of it. I can't remember off the top of my head what the MSRP is. I want to say it's around 200, but just another great option. I heard 20. I'm trying out. You're good. So then from there we have the regular TM22, right? So this is all metal. Even though it comes with that fixed stock, remember there's that castle nut on the back that you can loosen up and throw a commercial adjustable tube on there. To make it adjustable, we just went with the fixed alumina because it was the marketing side of it. This rifle was supposed to be totally metal, or TM. And in 22 long rifles, TM22. That's how it was designed. Now, this option, I think, is also good as a present. The reason I like it is because of the fact that forend, it does have M-LOK compatible slots at the 3, 6, and 9 o'clock position on that handguard. What that means is that you can either throw a Picatinny rail on the front end and put a bipod on it. You can throw an Arca rail up close towards the receiver and then throw the adapter plate onto some sort of a tripod or anything like that. I mean, my daughter, who is 5 now, so she was shooting it last year. We have an Arca rail on it that she just gets behind it and just, pivots around. The elevation doesn't change, but she can rotate, and we would just set targets up on the same plane, and she just gets behind the rifle, shoots a couple rounds at a target, and then pivots around the tripod and shoots it. I mean, it's just really nice. The fact that it's totally metal means it's a little bit heavier, but when you've got a younger kid standing behind it, that essentially is helping to eat up a lot of that felt recoil, so it's not kicking their butt all over the range or anything like that. And again, just all the perks: super light trigger pull, the ability to mount an optic. It's threaded, so when we would shoot ours, I'd throw my suppressor on the front end, and no one needed to wear hearing protection. So There was no pressing of the glasses against the face from over ears, or trying to stick foam earplugs in your kids' ears, and then trying to give them instruction. And even though we're just trying to talk and communicate with them, we have to kind of yell. And when you've got a kid behind a gun and now you're trying to yell instructions, kind of adds a new level of stress. Well, when you throw a suppressor on it and no one has to wear hearing protection, it's much easier to just communicate through talking and keep that stress level down for a kid. So Rick says that looks great and fun. The TM22 is a lot of fun to shoot. You can shoot that thing really fast and it does not move. So hey, what process do you use on your high polished nickel 1911? I have one, and I'm afraid I might ruin the finish. You know what? That would not be a question for me. I'm not exactly sure about all the science and what goes on behind that process. However, if you want, you can shoot that question over to John McClain at Armscor.com, and I'll send it off to the gunsmiths and see if we can't get an answer for you. All right. What a great platform for kids to get acquainted. Exactly. I mean, you can literally teach them everything about, knowing where the muzzle of the gun is pointed, keeping their finger off the trigger until they're ready to fire, treat the firearm as if it's loaded every time. And then, the biggest thing I think a lot of people kind of have a hard time understanding when they're first coming is identifying your target and knowing what's behind it. And, when the gun is, like I said, when you can eliminate as much thinking as is required for a child, then they can really focus on what it is. So you can even set targets up for failure, meaning that you might put something not important, but something that they wouldn't want to shoot in the background to make them understand what it means, and what I mean by not want to shoot is maybe even teach them like what a penalty target is or what a no shoot target is, right? Put a piece of steel and say, like, if you hit that steel, then you lose. So they have to shoot their target, but if they hit the steel, then they lose. And then you give them the position of being like, where do you want to shoot that target from? Do you want to shoot it from position A, position B, or position C? And let them walk and be like, well, in position A, I can't see the steel target because it's directly behind the target. So in B, well, I mean, I can see part of it, but part of it's still behind the target. And then in position C, oh no, the steel's completely out of the way. Yes, I'm going to shoot the target from position C because there's no chance of me hitting that steel, so I can win, right? Like that's how you can start to teach kids what it means to understand your target and know what's behind it, and what the consequences are to, doing something like that. Suppress 22 would love to hear that. Oh, you don't hear much. If you get some so our 36 grain high velocity hollow point ammunition, you still get the crack when you shoot. However, if you're shooting the 40 grain solid point standard velocity 22 long rifle from Armscor through a suppressor, you can hear the bullets hitting the berm. Like the gun itself and the explosion happening in the receiver is the loudest part. And then you hear the thwap of it hitting the berm more than you actually hear the gunshot. It's absolutely fantastic. If you don't have a suppressor, get a suppressor. Or, well, maybe hold off on a bit, because let's see. Maybe suppressors come off the NFA list and you don't have to pay that extra $200 tax stamp. But I suggest getting suppressor. If you're going to get a suppressor, 22 long rifle is a great way to go as far as starting a suppressor. Due to the fact that for the same cost of a Glock, you can get a 22 can with the tax stamp. So even though you have to add that additional $200, like there's some great suppressors out there that are $250, $300, and then you throw a $200 tax stamp on top of it. So for $500, you can get started with a really, really good 22 long rifle suppressor. And if you get a good enough 22 long rifle suppressor, also keep in mind, you can shoot other calibers through it, such as 22 Magnum or even 5.7. I know some cans are rated for 5.7 through a 22 long rifle suppressor. So keep that in mind. Illinois prohibits suppressors. Yeah, well, okay, so get yourself an oil can. Just kidding. Just kidding. It's going to be used against you. Sonic boom of the round breaking the sound barrier. Yep, you can hear that. But like I said, if you're shooting the solid points, the 40 grain solid points from us, they run a little bit slower, a little bit heavier bullet, and some of like you'll hear it occasionally. You'll hear a think think crack think crack. So occasionally you get bullets that are zipping a little bit faster than the sound barrier, but the standard ones tend to be a little bit more on the subsonic side. So. Yes, our list. So, like I said, shoot me an email with your FFL or have your FFL of your choice. So, whatever gun store you want to deal with, have them email me that they're interested in getting a 5.0 E to their store, and we can get them signed up as a dealer and get a gun sent out to them. So, all right. Now, so we've talked about the feather, we've talked about the standard. Now we have the lever action. Again, by teaching kids about all the different platforms that are out there, you're just the more education you can give them about firearm knowledge, then the less likely they are to have some sort of accident, because they understand how they function, they understand how they work and what they need to do in order to make them fire, and more importantly, what they need to do to not make them fire and to make them clear and safe, right? This gun is fun. Like, this tube here doesn't hold bullets. Pretty much there for kind of like looks, aesthetics, make it look like a good old lever action rifle. But this one is magazine fed, and the great thing about that, especially if you're letting the kids shoot it, is instead of they're done shooting it, and now you have to reload by unscrewing a cap at the end where our hand is very, very close to the end of the muzzle. And here we are trying to teach kids about safety, but we're having to stick our hands super close to the muzzle every time we want to reload the gun. This one, it's literally drop the magazine out. Here's your new mag. They stick it in and they get back to shooting while you start loading the mag up. That gun is fun as hell to shoot. I have such a good time shooting it. The only thing about it that I need to I occasionally be reminded of is that the safety is actually located right back there behind the trigger, and the handle pushing up against it is how you disengage that safety. So there is no safety that you click on and then you can just pull the trigger after you rack it. Like, you actually have to close that grip up against the backside of that trigger to get that hammer to fall. Not a big deal. You just got to get used to running it. But once you do, man, that thing is fun as hell. And again, threaded on the end. So put a suppressor on it. Put a red dot on that little piece, the rail piece there. It's got the all generation stock, so it comes with shims that are removable. So you can start it at its least or the shortest length of pull, and then as the child grows, you can add more shims. Or if an adult wants to shoot it and wants to add some length to it, you can. And then it comes with that adjustable cheek well mount piece, so the gun can literally grow with the child and turn it and go from it being a kid or a gun they shoot as a child into a teen gun, into a adult gun, squirrel hunting, steel challenge, whatever it is they want to go go and do with it. They can. Fantastic little shooter, one that I have a lot of fun with. Now, along that same lines, as far as not just the shooting sports but also hunting, when we introduce them into the world of shotgun, then we have a couple options that I suggest for kids. Now, this one, I know you'll notice that it says that it's 12 gauge. I wouldn't suggest a 12 gauge for a brand new shooter, especially out of a single shot like this, because of the fact that it is just, it's whatever you load in there, you're going to get the full brunt of it when you fire the shot. So this was the only picture I could download off of my website for whatever reason. The other links weren't working. We do make traditional single shot guns in 20 gauge and 410. Okay, so whether or not it's availability of the shell that you're trying to get, like I know I have a harder time finding 410 than I do 20 gauge. So I wouldn't go for a 410 version, but I would totally go for a 20 gauge version, right? So the reason why I like these guns for the introduction of shotguns The shells are significantly bigger than 22 long rifle or even 22 TCM if a kid wants to get into that, or 22 Magnum, right? So because of that, the first time they shoot it, they may get a little startled or scared of it. And kids tend to drop things when they get scared. So the reason I like these guns for that purpose is that if they fire it and they drop it, it's a single shot. It only holds one shell in it. There is no way that gun can go off again because it's a fired shell that's in the chamber, right? Um, Again, I know the stock, it's a polymer stock, even though it looks wood grain, but it comes with adjustable shims, so you can shorten or lengthen the length of pull on it. And the way it breaks open is that the trigger guard here, you actually push that trigger guard back. Like you physically pull the trigger guard all the way like back a little bit, and that's what unlocks the system. Furthermore, there's a little cutout inside the foregrip here on the underside that when you open the action completely as much as you can, this gun almost folds completely in half, which makes it very easy to put into a backpack or something like that. Now, why do I think that's a big deal? Well, you take a gun like this and you give it to a kid who's just getting into shooting, and maybe you decide, hey, let's go turkey hunting. Now, while it would be nice, you probably let the kid walk in holding the gun because you want them to learn what it means to travel with the firearm, holding it safely, keeping it in a safe direction, keeping control of it, how to move over, crawl under obstacles while safely handling a firearm. However, once they get that turkey on the ground, maybe they want to carry the turkey, or maybe they're just tired and they don't want to carry anything. The ability to fold this gun up and throw it inside of a pack, or sling it over a strap that's on your turkey pack or anything like that, I think is a great plus. The gun's not super heavy, so it's not adding a boatload of weight to your pack in or pack out. And again, 20 gauge, even 410s, with depending on what shell you use, is enough to take a turkey and put it on the ground. So great option for kids that you just want to get into the shotgunning world. And if I remember correctly, I think the MSRP on these guns, I want to say is like $115 or something like that. Like, I think you can get them for sub 100 at your gun store. So, I mean, let's be honest, we can all shoot that much ammo in 15 minutes. So, get a gun or 150 rounds of ammunition. Hey, Now, maybe you got a kid that's a little bit bigger, a little bit more into, or a little bit more confident behind a shotguns, not afraid of the recoil, understands what they're getting into. Then we go with the all generation. You can see this is the 410 version, but again, we make it in 20 and 12 gauge. You get that all generation stock, so you have the ability to increase or decrease the length of pull. You get the adjustable cheek well. You get a vented barrel, a vented ribbed barrel. Now, the reason I mention that is because there are those mounts that you can buy now that fit inside of the vents, where you can mount the red dot optic on top of your shotgun. And again, we talked about the benefits of using, red dot optics for younger shooters. However, don't get me wrong, I also do believe that kids should learn how to sight and shoot with a regular shotgun just using their iron sights. Optics can always fail, batteries go dead, all that kind of stuff. So the ability to understand how to properly aim using a bead on your shotgun, I think, is still very important. But this shotgun has the ability to do multiple things. 26-inch barrel, 5-round capacity, so you throw a stick in it, so you can only do the 2+1. That's as mandatory for when you're hunting birds or fowl or anything like that. But the barrel is going to be long enough for bird hunting, and then it also comes with a choke set. So you can really adjust that gun for whatever hunting situation you're going into. So whether or not you might be dove hunting and the doves are going to be coming in close, you might throw a cylinder choke inside versus a turkey choke where you're probably going to run a full or maybe even a turkey choke. So you can get those shots at 50 yards out and still get a lot of pattern on the bird, or even as something as simple as taking them to go shoot skeet or trap or five stand or sporting clays or anything like that. I mean, this is a gun that I've personally taken my nephew, and he's shot this gun at a Boy Scout sporting clay event. So the 20 gauge, not the 410 version. But again, that's just where you have that ability to, depending on how confident your kid is, the junior shooter is, with shooting a shotgun, can determine whether or not you think they're ready for a gun that can hold multiple rounds and that requires a little bit of functioning. They have to learn how to pump the gun and make sure that they rack it all the way forward and all that kind of stuff. But again, just another platform for them to learn and understand what it means to be a responsible firearms owner, and to understand what it means to know your equipment, know how to work your gear. We've all seen, I know for a fact, if we all shoot firearms and we're all into firearms, all of us have watched the video of that dude in the closet sticking a shell in his Ithaca pump shotgun and then holding the trigger down and blowing the ceiling up, right? We've all seen that video. So don't let that be your kid. If your kid's going to be YouTube famous, let it be for something good, not for something cringe like that, right? So, all right, Nick J-Lo. Nick J-Lo? Or Nick J-Lo? Well, he said, "What's up, man? Is the Armscor 9mm 115 grain plated ammo? I bought 1,000 rounds a while back, but have a ported bull Armory Tac Pro, and they say not to use plated ammo." No, it is not plated. We are jacketed. So it is jacketed. Typically, it's jacketed with with brass, but occasionally you might get it jacketed with copper, just depending upon which bullet we're having to use because of our supply issues. So, can you give some details on 57179 AOSM 1911 full-size high cap? So the product page is a little lacking, but I bought one anyway. I should get it in a few weeks. So okay, so all that means, okay, the 57179 AOSM is essentially, the AOSM is just indicating that it is compatible and ready to have an optic mounted on it. Okay. TAC Ultra full-size high cap. It's literally the exact same gun as our standard TAC Ultra full-size high cap that we've been making for years. The only difference is now the slide is cut and ready to accept a red dot optic, or the red dot optic mounting plates, depending on which optic. So I believe the stock cut is for RMR. And then we should have plates for RMSC and for DPP, or Delta Point Pro. So, and then you have it in 10mm. But I'd go with 9. But again, I'm a wussy little competition guy. I've got, don't let the cowboy hat fool you. I'm not really a cowboy. I can barely know which way I'm probably supposed to sit while on a horse. Patriot Paul, you made it. Better late than never. Yep, absolutely. I'm still here, still on, still talking. If you got any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Understandable. Thank you for the clarification. No problem. What system does it use for mounting plates? Oh, gosh. They told me that at SHOT Show. That was back in, I can't say back in January because that was just last month. Boy, is my memory really going out that far? Oh gosh, I can't remember who it is that makes them. I do know that it's the same company that makes the plates for the Prodigy. So it's not like it's some like weird off-brand company that you can only buy off of Amazon. It is a major. I just can't remember who makes them for the Prodigy, but it's the same company, and I think it's the same pretty much footprint setup as the Prodigy is for the plates for those. So A2 needs optics cut, the deal. Yeah, so that's, and the other cool thing about that is pretty much all the AOSM TAC Ultras that are being made here in the US. So parts are being made in the Philippines. They are being shipped over as 80% kits. So all of the final machining, fitting, and gunsmithing is actually being done out of Cedar City, Utah. So we're marketing it as a made in U.S. pistol, even though the parts aren't made in the U.S. The pistol itself is constructed, the finished, machined, fitted, and gunsmithed here in the U.S. Using U.S. labor. So pretty cool, pretty excited for that. So I have both. Well, there you go. Everyone's got to have stuff. I haven't gotten any with the optics cut yet. I do look forward to getting one eventually, but there's another pistol that is in the pipeline that I am really, really excited to talk about with you guys. I can't say anything about it now. Maybe NRA. Might be a little bit after NRA, but I think when you guys see it, here, let me just say this, okay? Just start saving some money now, because when this thing drops, you're going to want it. You are going to want it. So, agency optics. Yes, that's. Thank you. Yes. Do you guys sell the plates, or do we need an aftermarket vendor? I do believe we will be selling the plates. I'm just not sure how. If that's going to be through advancedtactical.com, or if you can purchase them as you're purchasing the firearm, or if they're even going to be included. That's a great question. I'll probably have to ask that and get back to you with that. But nice. The actually assembles made in US now too. Yes. Yeah, no, we are very excited about having that as an option now, as adding to the line of firearms that we're going to be making here in the US. But yeah, it's going to be good times. Like I said, we've got some things that are coming down the pipeline. We've got a couple that have just started to get fed, but we've got a couple that are right on the tail end. And this first gun that's on the tail end, I am super excited. I shot the prototype at SHOT Show. Basically, we had to wait until there was no one around so we can pull it out and shoot it, because we didn't want people getting video and pictures of it yet. But man, we got done shooting it. I think we shot, between me and my two other teammates that were there with me. I'm not going to say their names because they're sponsored by other companies, so I don't know if we necessarily want to. I'm sure you know who it is if you do some research. But man, we shot about 500 rounds or 600 rounds through that gun, and it just was phenomenal. I am very, very excited for that gun to come out. That is coming out. Furthermore, we did start some 3D printing looks of some of the other projects that we were working on. And like I said, I mean, I think the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to have some pretty cool things coming out of that Cedar City factory. So super excited to expand our line of firearms. And it's even cooler that we're expanding the line of firearms to be made here in the US. So pretty freaking cool. Any idea if RIA will ever make 22 TCM SAMI certified? It would sure be nice. We have been trying. We have been working in partnership with Hornaday to try and get that round SAMI certified. What has caused it to be delayed, I'm not entirely sure of. Those are things that are above my pay grade. And my understanding, to be perfectly honest, even if I was in the pay grade, I don't quite understand the SAMI spec certifications and stuff and what's required of it. But I do know we are in the process of trying to get it done, mostly because a lot of the other manufacturers don't want to make firearms for calibers that are not SAMI certified. And I think that once we can get that round SAMI certified, that would open up other manufacturers to manufacturing guns or to make guns that shoot 22 TCM, which would also help build up the reputation of the round, right? It would no longer just be that wildcat round that may or may not disappear one day. We don't know. When other companies start building guns in the same caliber, you're pretty much admitting to the fact that, okay, this caliber's here and it's ready to go. Look at the 5.7, right? FN was the only one that made that, and the ammunition. Well, now you've got other companies making the ammunition. You also have other companies making guns that shoot that caliber. So that's why we're working to get it done. Just how the process or what the process is, I'm not entirely sure of, and I'm not sure why it's been delayed. But yes, we are working on it. But that's what we're going to be working on. As reloaded, sure would be helpful. Yep, I don't doubt that. Is there any plan RA will make their own 22 TCM and PCC platform? I hope they plan to make that one. I don't think we're planning on making one ourselves, but I do know that there is a company called KAK Industries. They make an upper that runs 22 TCM. They require the use of the PMag with this like 9mm insert thingy. Let me see here. PMag. The Endomag. Yes. So you run an Endomag, which sits inside of a PMag, and it still requires a little bit of fitment. And the guys at KAK Industries can explain to you how to do it, because the Endomag is set for 9mm. The 22 TCM is more of a 38 Super, so you have to make a little bit of adjustment there. But yeah, you can shoot 22 TCM out of a pistol caliber carbine. I think you do it in the pistol configuration, right? But they do make that. I'm just not sure if we have plans of making it in our own platform or not. I know we have our AR platform that we've launched over in the Philippines for the defense side, which is called the Torch. And whether or not we're going to start importing that in, like, I don't see. I feel like when we talk about, yes, we can make it at a very competitive price over in the Philippines, right? But once we ship it over here and we have to add the cost of the importation and all that kind of stuff and marketing and whatever, then, we get into the same price point and price range as the Smith & Wessons and the Springfields. And once you start getting into that platform against those companies and those names, it kind of like you're the same price point, then people are going to want to go with the more notable name that they know historically, right? It's got nothing to do with whether or not the product's as good. It's just once you start getting into that price point, people are just going, it's just the way of human nature. They're going to see something from a company that hasn't sold very many versus a company that's been selling them for the last 15, 20 years. They're going to automatically go to the guy that's been selling them for the last 15, 20 years. So we'll see. But yeah. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we are at 53 minutes and 29 seconds and counting. So it will lower costs here for U.S. buyers. Yes, it will. Hopefully. Do take into consideration that when you look at some of these products, the thing you got to remember is, even though, yes, we are Rock Island Armory, and yes, this is RIA USA, in the hierarchy of the company, it is going to be a separate company. Almost think of it as it's going to be like our semi-custom shop, right? The guns that are coming out of Cedar City are a little bit higher quality when it comes to fitment, when it comes to the gunsmithing, just when it comes to the overall quality in general. So when you see the price tag on some of these things, and I'm mostly talking about the guns that are coming straight out of RIA USA, the TAC Ultras and stuff like that we have we're getting the parts kits. Don't get me wrong, they're going to be as good, if not maybe a little bit better than what we make in the Philippines. But the 5.0 and the 5.0e, when you look at those guns, they're not super mass. They're still kind of semi-custom firearms. This new gun that's going to be coming out here in the next few months, again, while it is a popular platform, it's still going to require a little bit of custom fitment. So it's going to be kind of a yes, the parts are going to be mass produced, but the fitment is still going to require a little bit of finagling when it comes to the gunsmithing. So kind of think of the RIA USA side as the semi-custom shop for Rock Island Armory. The products, when you look at the price tags, aren't going to say that's a Rock Island Armory price tag. But the quality of the pistol is also not going to say that's a Rock Island Armory pistol. That's going to be an RIA USA. And again, not to say that our Rock Island Armory line is not good. I have done very well for myself shooting these pistols that were not as good as the custom guns. Yes, you're absolutely right. It's not as good, meaning that there's a little bit more slop between the barrel, the frame, and the slide. There's not the nicest trigger. I got guns in my safe that have nicer triggers, but it also didn't cost me $4,000, and I didn't have to wait 9 months to get it in my hands. So, understand it's when you start getting into that price point and that customizations, like the people that are going to see those benefits are the bullseye shooters that are shooting at 50 yards and trying to shoot a quarter group. The rest of us, man, we're just hoping to hit a full-size silhouette at 25 yards, and our guns can do it. So the 5.0 is a nice one. Yes, it is. I have a lot of fun shooting mine. Whenever I can get some time out on the range, I typically try and throw it in the range bag and put a couple rounds through it. Have a great time shooting that gun. And I have a friend here from Texas, and why you guys only sold STK 100 in black color, unlike here in Philippines, we have a bunch of color options here. We did. I think we offered. Let me see here. Because now we've gone to the Ultra. I think at one point what we offered was for the distributors to pick their exclusive colors. So, for example, let's just say Lipsy's, and I don't know what color they would pick, but Lipsy says that they want to do a specific run, an exclusive, where anyone that wants to buy an SDK in Stormtrooper White, you can only order it through Lipsy's. And then Orion would step up and say, well, we want ours to be FDE brown. And then Sport South could step up and say, we want something hot pink. Like, I think that was how we offered it, but I don't know how many of them took to the colors. So there was a point where you could get SDKs in different colors. It was just like lack of demand from the distributors. They mostly wanted to stick with black. So, and yes, it's not hard. Now, the only thing to note though is that the frame is aluminum, not steel. So there is that. I have a inchworm trying to sneak her way. Oh, now she's running and hiding get under the bed. So, all right. Well, her coming up here means that it's probably close to me going down to get some dinner. Because it is 6 o'clock, 5:55 here in the great state of Missouri. And again, we're coming up on the 1 hour. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said, if you have any questions that you think of after the broadcast is done, John McClain at armscor.com. You can shoot me an email. And other than that, we will see you next month for the next episode of Armscor U. For those of you that are here, let me see here. I think my plan for the next Armscor U was to go a little bit more into the world of USPSA and competition shooting, and to discuss what platforms would be ideal to get started with in that. So that's just a little sneak peek and previewing to the next Armscor U. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate all the comments and questions. Thank you for those. And yeah, keep an eye out. We'll see you next month and talk to you later.